Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, Reuben Fasoranti, the father of Funke Olakunrin, the lady that had the fatal encounter with Fulani herdsmen on her way back from Akure, having gone to Ondo State to visit with her father and then making her way back to Lagos where she lives. So Reuben Fasoranti, the father of this lady, as well as being the chairman of the Afenifere group, has finally come out of his grieving state, or temporarily come out of his grieving state, to have his say on the state of affairs as it pertains to his daughter and the nation in general. So guys, I bring you this: Nigeria now at war, we can't even farm anymore. Fasoranti reacts to daughter's murder. So that's the headline: Nigeria now at war, we can't even farm anymore. Fasoranti reacts to daughter's murder. So that's the headline. Now to the body of the story. Afenifere chairman Reuben Fasoranti has lamented the high level of insecurity in the country, adding that Nigeria is now at war. Fasoranti said this on Saturday whilst addressing sympathizers who came to condole with him over the murder of his daughter Funke Olakunrin. Whilst the police and the government have insisted that it was bandits that killed Mrs. Olakunrin, Afenifere and other Yoruba groups claim she was killed by suspected herdsmen. However, 94-year-old Fasoranti said Nigeria had become so bad that it had become difficult for people to go to their farms since crops are destroyed. The Afenifere leader said he had just finished attending the synod when his daughter came to greet him and bade him farewell, unknown to him that she would rather be gunned down minutes later. Speaking in Yoruba language, Fasoranti said, "We just finished synod and we met there, and then she came to greet me at home, informing me that she would be traveling back to Lagos, and the next thing I heard was that she had been murdered on the way. You know how such a thing sounds, but as believers, we are hopeful that God will do well and that tomorrow will be better. May God continue to protect us because we are at war. When we go to the farm, we meet them there. We are all scared. We cannot go to our father's farmlands anymore. When we plant crops, they don't even allow the crops to grow. May God continue to answer our prayers. Thank you all." So now this is what Fasoranti has to say about the recent events that has happened within his own family and the general state of the nation in general. So now this is really quite saddening and is really sickening and is almost hopeless really where we find ourselves, because this gentleman, this elderly man, this statesman, this grandfather, this great grandfather, this man that has served his time and is now resting in his homestead is really speaking the language of the nation. Because if you travel through Nigeria now, you would see these people all over the place, and as soon as you see them, your heart skips a beat. So you're traveling as a Yoruba person through Yoruba land, as an Igbo person through Igbo land, and then suddenly you see somebody rolling cattle down the road and your heart skips a beat, because you know that there's a possibility that this guy might be some AK-47 wielding the extremist, and there's a good chance that he would be. But then you begin to ask your question that why is this person in this place? You know, what permits does he have to be in that place? Because obviously the people of Yoruba land, they don't want these Fulanis rolling their cattle through their homestead. The people of Igbo land, they don't want these Fulanis rolling their cattle through their homestead. But Malam Buhari, as a Fulani man, is telling us that his people are freeborns and they have the run of the land and they can do as they please. How can it be right? Because this narrative that Fasoranti has just narrated is a narrative that repeats on a daily basis, and is a song that is being sung in virtually every corner of the country apart from the northern parts, because they don't attack their own. Because if you go to the east, they will say, "Oh, I planted crops and these people just came with their cattle and ravaged it. If you go to the middle belt, they'll say, oh, I planted crops and these people just came with their animals and ravaged it. Now you come to the southeast, you say, oh, I planted crops and these people just came with their cattle and ravaged it. It has now gotten to the point where this elderly man that is settled into his homestead and is just wanting to be enjoying a little bit of farming cannot go to the farmland that his grandforebears left for him to continue to maintain as they've always maintained it. Why? Because some Fulani man from Burkina Faso or Borno or Mali or wherever is sitting on the land with his cattle, with his AK-47 resting on his laps and say, Pa, you come and then you meet your maker. And of course, even his daughter has already met his maker. The worst thing that any parent wants to see, to have their children leave them behind. But then how many children have been left behind, have left their parents rather behind at the hands of these Fulani herdsmen? So now this is really the goings on in Nigeria, and it's now gotten to the point that something has to give. Something has to give. It cannot be the case, and I'm sure anybody listening to this, there's nobody of any sense that's hearing this that will find this disagreeable. It cannot be the case that you cannot go to your own farm because some Fulani herdsman, a foreigner from a foreign land, is occupying your farmland with his cattle. How can that be the right thing? How can that be the argument that Malam Buhari is asking us to yield to? No, something has to give. Something has to give, rather. Which other country on this planet does the human beings give sway to cattle? It's only in Nigeria that I know this to be the case. I've never seen the cattle in any of the countries that I've ever been to, except in the farm fields. But in Nigeria, they roll through the streets, even in Lagos, where there's no vegetation. Just so you know that this cattle thing is more of an intimidation thing than any form of cattle rearing. Even in the streets of Lagos, they are rolling cattle. In Lekki, on the beach, they are rolling cattle. You know, so what vegetation are they rolling cattle to come and eat, other than just to show power, to show that they're in charge, and to come and intimidate you in your own land? And of course, we already know that this is part of the grand Fulanization master plan, because they only now need cattle now to colonize us. They cannot even be bothered to send army to come and gun us down anymore. It's now cattle now that they are using to colonize us. So the Yoruba people now are now subservient to cattle in their own homestead, where Pa at 94 cannot go to his farm and then have somebody to come and cut yam, and then they put it on the roast and tell somebody to go and hunt for enrogbe and kill some bushmeat and have the palm wine drink tapper drop him his palm wine there, and Pa enjoys his life in his farm as he monitors the activities there. He can't even do that anymore because of Fulani herdsmen and Malam Buhari's clansmen. So now this goings on is now something that really has to be addressed, because we are now at that point now that really is a crescendo now. So it's a decision point now really for the southern regions of the country to determine what their intentions are, or the sort of people that they consider themselves to be or they want to be. Because now we have a situation where you're having to give way to cattle in your own homestead, and you have to give way to a Fulani man in your own farm. So if you are giving way to a Fulani man in your own farm, in your ancestral land, then you might as well give that ancestral land to the Fulani, because if he has dominion over you just using cattle, then really then you've lost your masculinity. You've been completely emasculated, and you are completely emaciated, and you are completely defeated just with cattle. I mean, it's almost unbelievable. But of course we should have anti-grazing laws in Nigeria. Nigeria, and nobody should be allowed to roll cattle on the streets of Nigeria. I don't even think you need a brain to come to that conclusion. I think this is just something that should have happened 40, 50 years ago, and we should have forgotten about it as a thing and have their cattle on the farm. And even because this open grazing even is not good for the cattle, because the cattle in Nigeria are one of the worst in the world, because they are diseased, they are malnourished, they are tough, the meat is hardcore, because the farming is completely wrong. But then this thing is not really about farming, and it's not really about cattle, and it's not really about lifestyle. It's about intimidation, it is about Fulanization, and it's about colonization, and it's about Islamization. We all know this. So now we all know this, and we've always known this, but what can we do about this is the question. What can be done about this so that Pa Fasoranti at 94 can go to his farm and have yam roasted, and have somebody go and kill Enrogbe, and have palm wine and drink, and have his friends around him, and then they do a log fire and talk about the good old days? What can we do so that because Pa Fasoranti now is a representation, and is a symbol, is the marquee for your grandfather, my grandfather, all the grandfathers in Yoruba and Igbo land that have done their time and want to rest in their homestead. So we are now saying that they have to give way to Fulani. I mean, it boggles the mind. But then, of course, we have an illiterate president who has only two understandings: his tribe and his religion, and there's nothing else that matters in life outside of those two. If you think that in 4 years' time it will be gone, then you will find out very soon that in that 4 years' time it will be too late, because I'm already reading little output, little missives in the media where people are saying there's no need to do power shift in 2023, that the North can continue to rule, there's no constitution. So they're already prepping that argument. And really, if you are waiting for 2023, then you are just a dunce, because these people's plan is going to be fast forwarded, and by the end of this year even, your eyes will be clearing if it hasn't cleared already, because Pa Fasoranti's eyes has clearly cleared now. And I'm not just speaking to what the tragedy that's befallen his family, but really the narrative that he gave us, that he cannot even go to his farm anymore because there's a Fulani guy there wielding AK-47. I mean, it's too much. But conversations in the comment section is what I am inviting anyway. What is your take on all this? Why can Grandpa go to the farm without being Dumbu macheted down by Fulani man? Is the conundrum in Nigeria. This is the question that has to be solved by the Yoruba race and the Igbo race. So the Igbos can say Yoruba blah blah blah, and the Yorubas can say Igbo blah blah blah. But this is an existential threat to our being. So you can continue to say the Yorubas them there, and damn problem now. We can say, oh, this Igbo, their Okoro is their problem now, but it is all our problem. Open your ears very well, because I saw a clip the other day where these people, they were rolling thousands of cattle on the main streets of an Igbo major township, and the Igbos were just standing at the side of the road aghast. They couldn't do anything. The people rolling about these 4,000-5,000 cattle, they were more than five of them, but then they know what betide an Igbo man to even say what thing they happen for there. So they have now completely dominated us, So now, if we don't have the fight to rescue ourselves, then we might as well just yield, and then you can change your name to Mukhtar, and I'll change my own name to Abdul, and then we'll start to bang our heads on the ground five times a day, and that's the end of it. If we are going to be surrender monkeys in our own land, then let's all be surrender monkeys. But where is the fighting us is the question, because I know a lot of people will make a lot of noise, and then they will go to Abuja, and then Malam Buhari will grab a few $1 million from Niger Delta oil money and put it in their pocket, and off they go, and that will be the end of that until they kill the next one. one, which will be tomorrow, I'm sure. So now, conversations in the comment section is what I'm inviting around all this. What are you making of what Pa said is the question. So come tell me about your thoughts in the comment section. But before you come share your thoughts with me in the comment section, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray, bell button, that way you are notified every time I drop a new video. Then come share your thoughts with me in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, meet you there, but here I say peace.